It is time to hit social media for our hashtag segment. For that, we'd like to welcome in Megan Brantley, the VP of Research at LikeFolio.com, and we have Jenny Horn with us as well here in studio, talking one that's kind of one of your favorites as well within this brand, Slim Jim, which is of course the parent company Conagra.
Wait, we have to start with a poll,
yes,
right? An informal poll. Which of the Conagra brand's portfolio, which is the number one thing you use? Now, I'll admit, don't read too much into this, but the number one thing I use here is Healthy Choice. What do you use?
Slim Jim.
Slim Jims, Alex?
I'm trying to look here. I'm not even sure. Slim Jim probably, but it's really I don't use.
There's Orville Redenbacher. There's Peter Pan.
There's Ready Whip.
Yeah. So there's Egg Beaters. There's Hunt's.
Rotel,
yeah. Megan, which one are you?
I'm Team Slim Jim too. I'm not gonna lie. I also am
I love the young kids all Slim Jims.
I love Slim Jim. That's so funny. This is a company that Conagra brands itself isn't exactly the coolest name, but then you hear all these different brands go into the company and you're like, okay, this is actually great. Yeah. And Megan, I know you have some data for us on snacks versus their frozen food, which is kind of a huge part of their company. I think combined, those two make up over 70% of their total sales. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so as you guys mentioned, Conagra has so many brands underneath their umbrella, and so we kind of lumped these into these divisions because previously the frozen and snacks division have been really what they key in on whenever they go into these earnings reports. And you can see strength in snacks specifically. Think about like the Slim Jim, like you said, the Boom Chicka Pop. A lot of meat snacks in general are performing really well for them. And then if you look at frozen, even though on a volume perspective, not quite so high as snacks. Believe it or not, people love to talk about Slim Jims on Twitter as well. So there's a little bit of an upped volume there, but frozen is still improving and on an upward trajectory overall year over year. So we think that that's positive for Conagra moving into this earnings report.
Looks like they had Chef Boyardee as well, but
yeah, I was wondering if either of you were gonna pick Chef Boyardee.
That might be what I have to change my answer to. But I'm stuck on this Boom Chicka Pop. Kevin, I'm not sure if you know what that is, but I have zero idea what that is.
It sounds like a dance step. What is it exactly?
It's like Smart Pop. It's like healthy popcorn.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, healthy popcorn. Okay.
Yeah, I have to say there are a lot of these brands that are, of course, notoriously unhealthy, but then, of course, we have some brands that are healthy. Like you mentioned, Healthy
Choice and Marie Callender's are pretty healthy.
And Boom Chicka Pop. And I think Slim Jim's really popular now with these keto trends because Slim Jims are technically keto, aren't they? Which is so
Technically. I guess it's in the meat family somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere. So these were funny because I looked brand by brand, Megan, this morning on social media, and the different preferences of the tweeters this morning were absolutely hilarious. So our first tweet is from Charlie, who said, Beyond Meat's market cap just passed Conagra. Conagra founded in 1919, Duncan Hines, Hunt's, Slim Jim, Orville Redenbacher, Healthy Choice, Pam Birdseye, Earth Balance, 18,000 employees, $9.5 billion in revenue, and Beyond Meat, founded in 2009, Fake Meat, 383 employees, $95 million in revenue. So this is wild to me. Of course, we talk about the meat trend.
It's real.
It's real. The fake meat trend is real. So I don't know if this has any influence at all on Conagra, Megan, with your data, but Beyond Meat is one of those ones that's kind of a mega trend for you guys, correct?
Yeah, I love what you just zoomed in on here because what you mentioned, these shifts in diets, like you mentioned the keto diet and the shift to plant-based preferences. And what we're seeing is that a lot of the brands that are performing really strongly inside of Conagra are ones that are well positioned to capitalize on these shifting kind of consumer taste profiles. So the ones that are high protein, like you mentioned, like the Slim Jims, and even Birdseye is coming out with these new like spiraled zucchini vegetable offerings that people are using. That I think are lower carbs. You know, they also own the Gardein brand that is kind of a competitor to Beyond Meat, but I almost want to say it was more OG than Beyond Meat was and really took off for them earlier, I believe in like 2017, 2018. So they're doing well in the brands that are adjusting to consumer tastes. Meanwhile, brands like Chef Boyardee that are more like canned and contain a lot of preservatives, they're not faring as well in our data.
Yeah, and these are also, of course, this whole brand is a staple, which is what we talk about being kind of recession-proof because people are never going to stop buying canned. I mean, at least I'm never going to stop buying canned foods. I still buy Chef Boyardee even as an adult.
That's the one thing about consumer staples is that you get someone like Healthy Choice. I always have like 10 of those in my freezer just in case you're home and you have like 10 minutes to eat.
Right. And
They take 5 minutes to cook, you have a nice meal and you're gone.
Exactly. And like canned
Right.
foods will never really go out of style.
Right.
So that's, of course, good news for Conagra Brands. So our next tweet is from Patrick, who says, get a 3% yield on the back of a 12.6% earnings rise in the last quarter as this packaged food operator grows sales. So this is an important thing that you always talk about, Kevin, is this is a dividend paying stock.
Right.
Its dividend's almost 3%. So does that help it at all going into an earnings report?
Absolutely, and just in general, because in terms of consumer staples, if you're looking for something that may, what do you trade, what do you buy if the overall economy starts to weaken? Well, none of these are going down dramatically in sales if the economy weakens. These are, they call them staples. They lump them into staples for a reason. That's because you buy them every week, every month. That's why they have the sales that they do. And with a 1.8, 1.9 10-year yield, this is, 50% higher than that in terms of their dividend yield.
Yeah, and surprisingly, even though it is a staple here, Megan, it does actually have a history of moving pretty sizably on its earnings releases here. As I look back to March, you're seeing a pretty sizable gap up, and of course, early summer, we saw a gap down in this name on our chart here. But I'm guessing I'm asking you kind of thoughts going into this earnings release. Is there enough of a divergence either way for you guys to really have a lean on this particular quarter, or is this one where you're kind of just waiting and seeing and maybe looking to enter on the other side?
This is a tough one because whenever you look at that long-term trend, I mean, the stock is really, it's pretty flat overall. We're seeing the purchase intent up about 7% year over year. That's nothing riveting. And especially with this many brands, there's just not an extreme divergence in our data to lead one way or the other. But we do like that they are providing offerings long-term that we think are matching these consumer taste profiles and diet preferences and things of that nature. So if take with that what you will, purchase intent is improving year over year from an earnings perspective, just not an extreme amount of divergence.
Yeah, so not a huge divergence, what I'm hearing, but they are making moves that you guys are seeing being well received as maybe even defensive or transitional as kind of trends within dieting across the world have changed. And so they're making some of the moves that you guys like to see on the long term. Not sure that's going to affect this earnings or not.
Yeah, I think you nailed it.
All righty, Megan, great stuff. As always, we appreciate you joining us this morning, and thanks to you as well, Jenny.